problem is countries like the United States and the United Kingdom and even in the Gulf, they lack the physical industry needed to train these systems. So countries like Pakistan are uniquely positioned because we still rely a lot on human expertise, on human labor. What we're doing is we're seeking to monetize and to build a financial layer into the Pakistani economy, one that identifies quite correctly that Pakistan's most important asset is its people and the skill of its people. Data, I like to say, that's Pakistani experts are teaching these Western robots how to move and how to think and how to be polite and table manners and that kind of thing. I think when these robots come to light, the first workers that will be replaced are actually kind of the white-skinned, high-paid labor overseas, because it makes more sense to put up an automated facility in a region where the alternative is more expensive. Mm-hmm. But it's all come down to this one industrial revolution, and this will be humanity's greatest achievement.
Hello and welcome to another episode of All Things Money. I'm your host Fatima Attarwala. I'm sure you've gotten a bit tired of the economy and of the CEOs and more economy and all the textile sectors and the auto sectors and whatnot sectors that we keep covering. So we've got something new today. My guest today is Sherdil Ali Khan. He is the CEO of World Context. It's a data company for the industrial sector, which is a somewhat technical way to say that he is training robot brains. This is a very frontier field. I don't think I have met anybody in this field, at least in Pakistan. So I'm very excited for this podcast, and I hope you are too. Hi, Sherdil. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here. Thank you for the kind introduction.
So, I mean, this is so different. How does one start that company in Pakistan? Why does one start that company in Pakistan? And can you tell us what that company does?
Sure. I mean, the company, I should say, it stems from solving a very real problem in the West, and that is there are several companies in the United States specifically and in the West that are proliferating frontier artificial intelligence. Frontier artificial intelligence is a $1 trillion industry, and the base plate of these labs is to create that which they purport to be artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is this moniker that the industry has coined to I guess, depict a system, or rather systems which total the sum of all of human intelligence and can operate any task environment, physical or on the computer. The problem is countries like the United States and the United Kingdom and even in the Gulf, they lack the physical industry needed to train these systems. So countries like Pakistan are uniquely positioned because we still rely a lot on human expertise, on human labor. That human labor is something, or that expertise, I should say, is something that we've been exporting out to the West for decades. It's just not been priced in. It's not been a tangible economic commodity, and it's something that is completely disillusioned from the worker versus that which it is that they export. What we're doing is we're seeking to monetize and to build a financial layer into the Pakistani economy, one that identifies quite correctly that Pakistan's most important asset is its people and the skill of its people. Now, what we do specifically is we develop cameras, as you've seen, and gloves and different kinds of environmental sensors, and we deploy them across Pakistani factory workers across the country, across different industries. And the data sets that we collate are specifically the collations of human motion. So it's a composition of that which a worker sees and feels and touches, and how he moves, how he picks things up, how he goes about his normal work. It's no different from his previous employment. We've just added another layer to it. We collate these data sets and we license them out to American and European laboratories, which are training these frontier robotics models. And so it is actually Pakistani data, I like to say, that's Pakistani experts are teaching these Western robots how to move and how to think and how to be polite and table manners and that kind of thing.
So say you have a textile worker, and that textile worker has a camera on his head and
Yes.
gloves, and he's going about his work, and that is the data that is being recorded, so that sometime later some robot somewhere is going to use some aspects of that. What happens if the worker, scratches his eyebrows, takes a yawn? How do you account for all the human emotions, human motions
Yeah, I
that we
mean,
do?
we have, obviously we deploy the sensors throughout the entirety of a shift. And,
Does that mean that if he's slacking off, you can tell now? If you couldn't tell before?
So we've not built in observability as a prerogative. It's definitely something we've been asked about, but no, we're more interested on the motion.
But yeah, if he's just
when-
sitting down and like having a cup of tea, then like you can tell if he was only working this many hours, because I'm
Correct.
assuming he'll take out everything.
Correct.
So it is keeping an eye on the workers.
So, but we do employ. I mean, we have that optic, of course, but we employ a team locally of systems and of data engineers to occlude kind of maybe information that's not so relevant from these logs, from these sensors. That may very well be idle time, as you described. But ultimately, we don't want to get in the way of what's going on. We
Yeah,
don't want
of
to
course.
disrupt industry.
It's like anthropologists just
Correct.
going there and
we're
observing.
We're just here to see
Yeah.
what's going on and to learn from it. And the best way to do that is in as non-disruptive a manner as possible. So we've spent a lot into research and development, to be honest, with respect to the sensors and kind of how all of these sensors are worn across the body, and make sure it's comfortable for the worker, and make sure it's just generally non-disruptive. We don't care if the worker takes a cigarette break every 25 minutes, but
It's not your business, that's the company's business, right?
that's the worker's business, if you
Yeah.
ask me. But we have a basic filtration mechanism in place wherein it's not something that the worker or the factory has to worry about. We come in and we're just flies on the wall, so to speak.
So when was your company incorporated?
Well, we
When
founded
did
the
you start
company
operations?
January 1st of this year.
So that's a very recent company. It's not been a year even.
Correct.
During that time, how many hours have you logged of usable data?
So I can't give you a number off the
That's
top of my
fine,
head
yeah.
of the hours that we've logged, but we're
Or how many
deployed
workers
over.
are you working with?
We've deployed over a couple of thousand workers, and on an ongoing basis, and that scales up and scales down depending on our capacity or our provisioning from sales side at the time. Obviously, the supply chain this year has been quite interesting. So getting a lot of our sensors and PCBs and those kinds of equipments from China has kind of cascaded processes. So anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 workers at any given moment, I would say. This is still just a proof of concept phase. Pakistan has millions conducting physical labor, and this is, this represents hundreds of millions of hours per day of unutilized it's an export going to waste. It's a commodity literally going to waste simply because there's no cold supply chain to keep the food fresh, and it's sad. And from a data science perspective, someone sitting in California working at these frontier labs with unlimited budgets and simply they conduct and they correlate all their work with that of the furthering of artificial intelligence, and as a direct consequence, the furthering of the human species. And they want everything they can get. That's why they scrape the internet so many times. That's why they scrape so much proprietary work. That's why all of that buzz about their burning the books is kind of coming about, because there are only so many books, and there's only so much on the internet. But I purport that the amount of data in Pakistani factories alone, just by metric of token, outweighs that of the internet by a significant manifold. So there's a lot to extract here, and there's a lot of work to do here, and we're doing it anyways. We're just not benefiting from it. I think is the critical element here.
The operations of it, the technicalities, it's an incredible, because you have to have the right infrastructure, the gloves, the cameras, whatever. Then you need to have the right technology stack so that can be extracted. You have to make sure that the workers don't damage the equipment as they're using it correctly. So it's a very technically, it is not just like, sewing zips. It's your field, your operations requires a very high level of technical quality standards so that that data can be usable for other countries. So how do you ensure that?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a lot of imports as well,
glad.
because none of this is in Pakistan.
No, of course. Well, a lot of our operations and actually our electronic assembly is in Lahore. Though we do print PCBs out in China, we assemble and prototype and R&D in Lahore, in our owned warehouse.
So assemble prototypes, are you trying to make your own patents as well?
We have, I won't comment on patents, but we do have some intellectual property, yes.
And how do you protect that? And I know I'm going on a tangent, but that is one of the
Absolutely.
biggest challenges in Pakistan.
Absolutely. No,
protecting your intellectual property.
It's not a prerogative. I don't care about the intellectual property here. It's like, oh, I've designed a special kind of shovel. Do I spend my time protecting that shovel, or do I go and use that shovel and dig some gold up? It's a irrelevant kind of supply chain to myself, and there's no protecting here in open source AI anymore. Everything is going to get done a million times over. But what is proprietary and what is protected is, we're bringing this talent out here, and we're creating these jobs. And a lot of what my staff are dealing with now, because we hire people, mashallah, every week, is no one has this field of experience here. This work hasn't been conducted in this country. So those with similar experience tranches will not be directly aligned. So we actually hire a lot of students and a lot of fresh university graduates, technically inclined, of course, but those with the capacity to learn and to understand that this is a new environment, a new economy, and maybe something as simple as labeling data is making more money than your uncle who works at a bank. So we're importing this new ecosystem, and it's a very, very important thread to hammer down on, because so much journalism and so much rhetoric is centered around how AI is proliferating job loss, but no one is talking about the new levels of technology it's bringing to developing countries like ours. And I won't go as far as to say as the new ecosystem of intelligent machine development and supply chain will outweigh the amount of people that are laid off as a direct result of automation in the future. But it's definitely a consideration that our economy is not being throttled, it's being augmented. If not slowly, and then at some point all at once.
So if I were to go back to an earlier point, we're talking about the quality of data, and you need very accurate data to ensure that the robot is doing it correctly. How do you ensure that kind of quality of data? Especially in Pakistan, you have, the heat, it could affect the batteries.
Absolutely, 100%,
there's
100%.
Blackouts and whatnot, internet shutdowns.
100%.
How do you ensure quality?
Well, it's just that one has to play the surface. So there is no internet. So we use SD cards, for example, and we use fiber optic and wiring. The data provenance and quality assurance is non-trivial. It's a technical process, and it's always iterating, and it's always changing as per the signs of the time. We have a fantastic team that's developed a very, very exhaustive quality control process, and that has been imported to Pakistan to build this operation, essentially. Now, I should note that the capacity to collect data is what Pakistan ultimately owns, because we have the people, and now we have the system and the methodology to build those data sets. I hearken back to the anecdote of cotton, and is this cotton all over again? Because cotton as a commodity left Pakistan ultimately, and the value add was built in California, and all of the money was made in California. And Pakistan was left at the bottom of the supply chain with a already exported commodity sold at a loss to a mature market. Now,
I would argue we are still doing that now to a large extent. At least we're exporting yarn and cotton.
And we still are, absolutely, because we didn't take the initiative to build out a refinery ecosystem. We have imported that refinery ecosystem for data collection today in Pakistan. Now, after the data goes out to these labs, we retain the capacity to cultivate those data sets. The commodity is replenishable, And because we have the QA and the standards here in place, we're able to build those systems and reproduce them. We hire people here, and I think the tangent that we went in on off camera was that of kind of, you don't find too many people qualified for such positions because the work itself, that kind of work itself has not been done in the country prior. And it's definitely an uphill battle, and a lot of the time we have most luck hiring kind of students and younger people and people without too much requisite experience, people technically inclined, but more with the capacity to kind of adapt and learn that this is a new ecosystem. These are new kinds of jobs that we're bringing to the country. And kind of the second point there is that of how journalism boxes AI and jobs into the single retrieval vector of AI is killing the jobs, AI is taking our jobs, AI is coming, and it's not untrue, but it should be equally as demarcated and equally loudly said that AI is leveling our economy up and bringing a whole kind of a whole new quaternary sector to the country. So that's something we had before, and it's something that's been built as out of necessity to proliferate this commodity.
Which sectors are you in right now? Like, which sectors are you monitoring through your cameras and gloves and whatnot?
So we're in an array of sectors: automobiles, textiles, warehousing, logistics.
And globally, where's the demand? What kind of data is being required the most?
To be completely honest, it is my public opinion that the frontier labs do not know what they're doing, and that's fine for us because we're ultimately we function as a utility of the superintelligence sector, and we fire hose data overseas, and their training paradigm is implicitly their prerogative and their intellectual property. So we don't actually see what is going into what bucket, which videos go where, which gloves record for what industry.
So walk me through your process. You have this very innovative website which has birds flying in like the Karachi skies.
Karachi birds.
Yeah, the Karachi birds.
I love the birds.
I love the birds. I love your website and how it clearly depicts the birds. And that is, you're right, when you come to Karachi, you just see those birds.
The eyes and the ears of Karachi.
Yeah. So you have that. So how do you get a customer? And what does the customer say? What does the customer require? Like you said, you do not know which buckets to do. You said, do I want logistics data or do I want this data?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a whole series of different kind of services: pre-training, post-training, edge cases, machine testing. So if you talk about a textile, I know the mental scheme. I have
Right.
that. I know how that model works.
Right.
How does yours?
So artificial intelligence is being pursued by different kinds of companies. Some kinds of companies are purely computer-oriented. Some kinds are physical-oriented. Of those physical-oriented, there are companies that solve very, very specific problems for very, very specific industries, like a pick-and-a-place arm, for example, that we see in Amazon, we see already deployed across the world today for the last 20 to 50 years. Then there's another kind of company that's pursuing this generally intelligent mechanism, this generally intelligent model, this superintelligence. The idea of superintelligence is something with the capacity to operate any kind of task in any kind of domain, no matter the tool, no matter the medium. You give it a computer, or you give it some unstitched shirt, or you give it a weapon. It kind of understands that which it has to do based on prior relational context. We provide that relational context. So it doesn't matter what the AI lab is trying to do. The actual form factor, the actual hardware, still needs to know how to control itself, how to control its arms, its hands, how things feel, how things may slip if you let them slip, how much things weigh, how things may deform. These things have incredible torque in their arms. The gearboxes deliver incredible torque. So you could crush this cup easily if you didn't understand the threshold to which I may have to apply pressure such that I'm able to pick it up. And that's a very fine line, and it's something that we take as common sense. We deliver this common sense in structured and queryable formats to frontier intelligence companies. And they use these data sets to teach their robots about the world, essentially, and about human task environments. And maybe someone is building a very specific textiles robot, or maybe someone is just buying that textiles data to teach its robot about the world and about moving itself and moving its hands and picking things up and general dexterity. So the prerogative of the artificial intelligence economy is to solve all these different problems, either through very sharply pronged problem solutions or through general catch-all technology. My company bets on the latter. I bet on one ubiquitous solution that's able to kind of do most, if anything. One Toyota Corolla of sorts that gets really mass-produced, economically viable, of course, that's able to be empowered with the general interface that tells it, hey, this is what you're looking at, this is your job, this is how to get that work done. And the idea is that that knowledge will have already been baked into it through these training paradigms that we're creating.
So the companies that you go to, that with the workers, how do you explain this to them? Like, how do you convince them
They
to
explain to us. The ones in the labs are...
No, so if you have an auto, for example, you have auto workers wearing this.
Yes.
So do you approach the company, or does the company approach you?
So you're speaking on the collection,
Yeah,
on the ground
yeah,
here.
yeah, on the ground.
So
here.
we
What's
partner,
happening in Pakistan?
We partner at top level with factory groups. I wish I could say it came more from bottom level, but to be completely honest, the factory groups and a lot of the commonwealth of this country is actually the most forward-looking of all of us, and they understand the requisite that, okay, intelligent machinery is coming. It's already started to come. Maybe it's already deployed, to XYZ, relational capacity, but ultimately there's going to be this industrial revolution. These companies do not want to be blindsided. They were blindsided when telecommunications came through.
I cannot imagine any state in Pakistan going, yeah, I'm going to hire robots.
Not yet, because they're not cheap enough.
They're not cheap enough.
They're
Exactly.
not cheap enough.
Nothing is cheaper than
But
Pakistani labor. Nobody's paying minimum wage here.
Not for as of now, the economic disparity is on the labor price, and I think when these robots come to light, the first workers that will be replaced are actually kind of the white-skinned, high-paid labor overseas, because it makes more sense to put up an automated facility in a region where the alternative is more expensive. But I think
by the time robots are cheap enough to replace Pakistani labor would have moved on to better things, because
Pakistani labor will have been training these robots for 10 years by the time
they would
that
have been
happens.
training this. But obviously, if you're training the robot for 10 years, you're not upskilling yourself. You're just training that robot. No?
I disagree. We're bringing in an entirely new set of skills into the economy. We're importing a new skill basis.
Okay, so let's drill down on that. I'm an auto worker. I have the gloves and whatever. If I do not want to wear it, do I have an option? And
of course.
How does wearing all of this for the next, say, 5 years help me as a low-skilled, basic factory auto worker?
So we build, there are a couple prongs here. One, of course, is an opt-out mechanism. We're not recording without anyone's explicit permission, but the majority of workers will opt in because A, it's non-intrusive. Ultimately, it's a fairly non-intrusive process. I can't determine 100% non-intrusive, but very, very low threshold of disruption on actual work. Two, we build in stipend and...
So the workers get a stipend?
Yes, we build in incentives with the factory group, and it's one of our, it's something that we have to maintain as a company coming into Pakistan, ultimately, that we don't exploit any relational commodity chain. And if we purport that we have the supply chain, then we should similarly report an eloquent observability of the supply chain. Like, this is vetted, this is clean, there's nothing funny going on here. And for the worker itself, for the worker himself, the worker is, of course, incentivized economically, but is also trained. He's not blindsided. He's told, this is what's happening, this is what you're doing. He's trained even to, if he wants to, some workers will conduct themselves in very specific manners to even encourage higher quality thresholds of data for which they are rewarded. But
can they also think, oh no, I'm about to lose my job because of this. I'm going to mess it up so that he cannot learn what I can do. Is that something that has happened?
I mean, the thing is, there's nothing to mess up, right? We're not. It's not a very.
So instead of picking this as something like that.
I mean, it's still. We'll tag it as like a different kind of motion data set, right? Like, there's nothing to mess up because
If all the workers decide we are not going to train it and we are going to mess up the process, can they do that?
Yes.
Say they unionize on a factory floor and they do that. Okay, I'm still trying to understand the business model. You have a customer coming in from the US and says, okay, sure, I want data across auto, logistics, warehouses, and textiles. I don't know, is the order in the number of hours, or is it the order in the number of workers, or what is the unit that you use?
The two acts, so the unit is an hour.
Okay.
So 1 hour of data across video, across tactile logs, across environmental logs, across different kinds of time series data artifacts. Hours are requisitioned by these frontier AI companies through RFPs.
What are RFPs?
Request for proposal, and we send them a sample. They vet the data quality and then they engage properly. This is a very simple commodity trade. The two axes here to consider when measuring how large our own industry is that of diversity and that of volume. How tall and how wide the data set is. How many types of tasks are going on, and then how many people are doing those tasks, thereby ascertaining a volume. Different companies have different requisites. Again, that whole pre-training, post-training. Edge case companies will only want very specific tasks. And they'll want a lot of it.
You have a company that says 10,000 auto hours. You go to podcasts and you go to all the Japanese and you convince them, and you have whatever your economic financial settlement with them. You get the workers to wear the gloves and all that. All the workers are now scared. They're like, we are going to be laid off because of this in 5 years' time. And because, there's a specific set. One person is working, Toyota might be going to Suzuki the next day and
right.
Honda the day after.
Of course.
So they decide, we are not going to train it properly. Is there how do you test the data to make sure that they're screwing it properly, or what? Or do you depend on the company's own quality assurance to make sure that the screws are being screwed properly?
It's definitely a hand-in-hand effort. We're a technology company. We don't purport to understand the intricacies of such a tender exercise. It's tender. You're dealing with people, and and you're providing them subsidiary income for their families and their lives. And
how much, may I ask?
I can't disclose specific numbers on this, but it's a significant stipend on
I'm sure that given
making.
how little our labor is paid, we don't have living wage, we barely have minimum wage. We have this whole third-party contracting agency model going on. So any extra money is good money.
Correct. And out of respect to my partners, I won't discuss numbers, but the idea is that, yeah, it's very feasible to carve out a piece of this trillion-dollar industry and bring it into PKR and put it on Pakistani floors. But
the pie is so huge, I don't think you can worry about competition. In fact, competition would be really good for you. More people would understand.
Absolutely, 100%. This is why I don't seek to gatekeep or kind of build anything opaque. I want to. This is why I speak to the press and I speak to the government here, and I try to educate people as much as I can that, hey, this is a new ecosystem. There's a lot of money to be made, yes, but there's also this larger thing that humanity is working on. And how does Pakistan actually work on that thing? We don't have the necessary intellectual quotient locally to build a frontier lab. We don't have the necessary economic quotient locally to build data centers or training paradigms that compete with that of frontier Californian or Chinese similar such paradigms. We don't make chips. What we can do is
what we've always done, use our labor.
Use our labor. Use our people. It's never not been our principal export. It's never not been the case.
Even the entire economy floating on remittances, labor.
All of our issues as a country ultimately come down to
hands down.
Our labor has left because they weren't priced in. Here we built a system to price those in. We've built in a system for coordinary sector founders and operators such as myself to proliferate intelligent economy. And we've built this mechanism that it ties the worker back to that which they're building. It doesn't leave when the line's over. And kind of going back to that super vector, if one assesses superintelligence as a super vector of compute, then of data, then of models, and then of applications. Data is one very, very meaningful piece of that supply chain that Pakistan is well positioned to contribute. Now, notwithstanding our progress in compute or in model development or in local applications, we have a flourishing innovative ecosystem. But let's get serious. None of this is competing with that of state-of-the-art. None of our compute is competing with that of the state-of-the-art. None of our models are competing.
We don't have anything.
Nothing's even close to what they're building out there.
If we had if we imported, the tariffs are so high that we won't be able to.
There's no infrastructure to import it. But what we do have is state-of-the-art data. And now, through companies like mine, a state-of-the-art collection mechanism and a way to contribute that. And suddenly we're front page. Suddenly we're not just a...
But in theory, one could train an entire data set of robots to be serial killers or war bots or whatnot. I mean, you could have in war zones soldiers killing people with this data, so that's not them and it's
Absolutely
doing it. It's a very scary thought.
I would note that most technological proliferation is first through defense, usually, and then through healthcare, and then through logistics, and then through other things. But
Sadly, yes.
It's just because one cannot imagine a more system-critical environment other than that of defense or that of healthcare. These are the environments where these are life or death situations.
I mean, let's leave healthcare in Pakistan. Healthcare and Pakistan don't go together. But defense in Pakistan, that's a very strong bond we have.
I speak to how humanity approaches technology. And we deploy the really system-critical stuff on battlefields and in hospitals. That's where our most intelligent people and technology go. It just has been the way it is. And that's how it is now. There's thousands of different...
So are there soldiers out there wearing these cameras and gloves?
Yeah, absolutely. There's data collection ongoing in defense. There's
I don't know whether I'm horrified or relieved, because at least in that way, if you have robots, you can put in some kind of stops so that you can ensure that the wrong people are not getting killed or a child is not getting killed.
Of course.
And there's no question of rape. Rape is always part of every war. But you can't do that, I hope, with robots.
Well,
okay.
The
now
idea
I'm going
is
towards really, really horrible scenarios. Let's not go there.
The idea is that, no, but it's important to think about this because it's an existential human conversation. And existentially, one should note that I would rather send my robot to the front line than my son.
Absolutely, but right now I'm thinking of the other side, or the one who receives the robot army, and whether a robot army could be less cruel than the human army, because human armies have shown tremendous capacity for cruelty.
I won't comment too much on that, because these robots are quite capable. But the idea is that.
But then you cannot really monitor. But with robots, you could have international organizations monitoring it, and then perhaps you could have that data, as you said.
Absolutely, and
to say that no, this really did happen.
It becomes an existential duty of the human race to protect and to observe AI as it proliferates in a context of safety, just as nuclear non-proliferation is an active duty of the human race to ensure that the worst case scenario doesn't hit. But I don't want to get around I don't want to beat around the bush here. This grand automation is coming.
So iRobot, Bicentennial Man.
It'll happen. The whole robot sci-fi scene, what you read in comics, what you read in movies.
They are always sad, always being mistreated, always we are the bad guys, they are the good guys.
Well, hopefully we've learned from these movies.
Yeah, I really need to start thanking all my appliances.
I never yell at Claude, but one should note that, No,
I'm very polite. I mean, I should probably stop being so polite to my AIs because it's using up water, but I do try to say please and thank you to them. I do tell them when they're being stupid as well. I'll stop doing that.
I think it's more of a question of where humanity wants to drive that development.
See, humanity has not always had the best. I mean, it has a lot of good ideas, but the way it has deployed those good ideas leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, some of the most leading, because
I disagree. I think when humanity has a breakthrough technological infrastructure, it proliferates it. I think as soon as we got
the way it proliferates, that is.
I think as soon as we got cars good enough to get everywhere, they were everywhere. I think as soon as we had telecommunications, as soon as we had networks that were nuclear resilient, they were pushed everywhere. There is this human nature to want to push this boundary. This is how this boundary is pushed now.
Potential of those boundaries being pushed, and then ways to hurt others, especially other.
Of course.
And because so much of the technology is in the hands of the West versus the East,
of course,
that just raises a lot of questions, even though those are just, as you pointed out, existential questions, philosophical questions, because nothing that we do and say can stop this technology.
Correct.
It's here, it was going to be used.
This is a millennia-old conversation about, hey, we have this new technology, what are we going to do with it? We can do some crazy stuff with it. And it's, again, it's going to come down to a social response from governments and from kind of supervising bodies to guide the development and the equitable proliferation of this technology, for sure.
So, bringing back the conversation to more pragmatic, boring topics, in Pakistan, how sustainable do you think your business model is? You said you're in the proof of concept phase. So, do you see this sustainable 2 years, 4 years, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we export the data, but we don't export the capacity to build those data sets. I think for the next 2 to 5 years, I would say Pakistan will fit into the superintelligence supply chain as a data collector.
If there are enough companies like yours?
I think even companies like mine will do enough within the space to put Pakistan on the map. But
if there are enough, I mean, it can't be just one company. We need more people like you thinking along those lines. This is something different than, I don't know, setting up a trading or setting up a mall. A lot of our big businesses are just opening malls.
For sure. I mean, I should say that the scale that we have is really quite remarkable, and the access to expertise, physical expertise, is really quite remarkable. It's not something to be discounted.
What challenges have you faced? Financial challenges or ease of doing business challenges while setting up this business?
Plenty. There's a lot of for every forward-looking factory group owner, there's a not-so-forward-looking factory group owner.
So we have talked a lot about the global economy, labor trading data for a global economy, but when we talk about Pakistan and tech, those two terms don't go really hand in hand. So where is Pakistan sitting globally in terms of AI?
Pakistan's greatest utility has been and always will be its people. And we have tremendous contributions to frontier artificial intelligence through Pakistani scientists that have left the country and have joined Western or Eastern laboratories.
Pakistan cannot afford to pay anybody. And the ones who can afford to pay will not pay.
Well, it's not even a question of paying. It's just
sad employees.
There's not too much relational infrastructure to play. And when you have scientists and engineers, you must treat them like artists. You must platform them with the tools of their trade. If those tools, if one is to operate in a vacuum.
That have such demand for such people who can build or who can. Is there a demand for such technical expertise and skills and knowledge in Pakistan? I mean, we do not have anything resembling Google, Meta, anywhere close to it. Not even 20,000 miles close to it.
This is something we were talking about earlier about like kind of it's hard to gauge this kind of expertise because it's already been exported. It's already left the country.
I mean, do you have university teaching it? Do you have companies grooming? I mean, the companies will not groom because they do not need such expertise.
More than half of the country is about my age. We're about ready for kind of this infrastructure to be built. We understand the need for this infrastructure to be built. We know what's going on because we all have friends overseas.
Yes, we understand,
So
but
we've seen
nobody's
it.
funneling the funds.
Well, some companies are, and
You-
it's going to
you
be
being
this
the
kind
exception.
of.
I mean, mostly it's, as I said, malls, real estate. A lot of money goes in real estate, or gets, flushed through.
Pakistan is
shady
still finding
investments.
its place in this industry, but I think what's good about kind of the current administration and kind of the rhetoric of the generation that we have at hand now is that it is understood that we must adapt. At least we understand that we must adapt. How we adapt will be a mechanistic discussion that will kind of differ from time to time from industry to industry. For artificial intelligence, we cannot supply frontier compute. We cannot build frontier chips. We cannot build frontier models or applications, though we may try. We do not compete with state-of-the-art American and Chinese infrastructures. We can build these frontier data sets. Once that starts, once this flywheel starts and Pakistan is part of this global motion, we will retain a place in the supply chain, in the global supply chain. We won't have to invent roles because they will be imported in. We will become a station on the road.
Swallow does not a summer make. Your company is the exception. Do you see the rest of the economic ecosystem in Pakistan walking down this path?
Yes, I see my company as not an outlier. I see my company as a natural consequence of heightened Pakistani technological diplomacy and relations with other countries and companies. The idea that Pakistan knows that it's, it deserves a place at the frontier this time because we have missed so many other times. And we have not been part of.
We are very good at missing times. I mean, what makes you think this is going to be different from all the other times that we were at a crossroads?
Because we have.
Like the Sherdil Roy song.
Because we have taken the initiative to supply this critical commodity.
You, one person, one company.
I am a product of the country.
Yes, exception. We have some good people. We have.
That's all you need. It's only 30 to 50 frontier labs literally leading the superintelligence industry across the world.
But other than your company, do you have, do you have in your circle, your social circle, your personal circle, your business circle, more people like you who will be willing to invest hard currency in setting up AI and tech, completely untested business models in Pakistan?
Well, no one's going to set up anything untested. The flywheel needs to start and it needs to make relational sense for these infrastructures.
For you, this is untested for Pakistan, no?
Did
you have an example of another company doing this in Pakistan before you came in?
No, but we understand the quotient for physical dexterity and physical labor, of which Pakistan is a huge foundry, a tremendous foundry, one of the leading foundries on earth. So it's a very natural value apparatus. And it was just dot connecting. It just made sense. So we're in America. You have all of these 200 IQ, 180 IQ kids, and these kids are getting paid $30,000-$40,000 a week to label data that doesn't exist. There is a very, very real need for this data, and Pakistan has a very real capacity to develop it. To speculate upon how this may encroach onto other ecosystems or import other ecosystems or bring a global supply chain to a kind of a continuum pass in Pakistan and have different processes going on is, I'm not saying it's uncalled for, but it's irrelevant to that which is going on right now. And what's going on right now is Pakistani experts are training American robots on how to do things, and how to do stuff. That's going to be a very real and priced in expertise that we will retain in the years to come.
How do you see yourself in competition with other countries that are manufacturing? Now, we do have manufacturing in Pakistan, but for example, we have an agricultural economy, but our exports are very limited. So even when we have manufacturing hubs, they're not the most efficient. Now, there are other countries in the world, but perhaps whose labor productivity is higher. So how do you convince a client to come to Pakistan and see Pakistani labor and learn from it rather than, say, Indian labor or some other country's labor?
Well, I should note that the export efficiency metric is a fallacy in this conversation because we're adding this economic layer atop, and perhaps something which is considered in a state of deprecation may not be for us, because we don't need industrial growth to do this. We just need the sustained operating base, which Pakistan has, and has in great capacity, and it's still physical. A lot of countries have automated too quick. They bought in really expensive machines, $1 million machines that did one person's job, as opposed to waiting for the research and development of the industry to articulate and produce ubiquitous machinery that could perform any array of tasks. And Pakistan hasn't really taken that plunge yet. We never really went into this factory of tomorrow, but I do purport that the factory of tomorrow will look a lot more like the factory of yesterday, wherein you have people, working people. There'll be robots, but there'll be people-shaped robots. You're not going to have specific equipment for specific tasks. Now, a country like Pakistan that still employs people as its fundamental commodity and fundamental value driver is directly positioned to kind of intake this new industry. We already have the roads for these kinds of cars, and it's really important to show that value fit. And
what do you mean we already have roads for this kind of car?
well, when say modern, or I guess colloquial robots are special built for specific case scenarios and instances and environments and physical spaces. They need, like, physically they must be located very deliberately. Now with something like a humanoid, it may simply roam the paths and elevators and stairs as a human does. We already have the roads for this, and Pakistan specifically is uniquely positioned twofold. One, we have the roadways for physical labor to be kind of brought into the intelligence system ecosystem. Two, we're uniquely positioned to interact with both China and the United States, which are the two countries which currently lead humanity's superintelligence effort. We may uphold both, and we may collect data for the industry, and when the industry is ready to deploy robots, they will deploy in Pakistan. Why? Because we have already mapped the environment. We already have the roads for them.
I cannot imagine again states spending the amount of money in foreign currency to import robots. They have to be so dirt cheap.
And they will, and
But
absolutely
again,
right now
could
an
it ever
issue.
be possible that we import robots, assemble them, and export them? Can we ever be part of that?
Of course, why not?
Oh,
This is a supply chain that's a little
That's we're
further
good
out.
at. I mean, cell phones, autos to a very small extent.
Well, our capacity for automotive manufacturing would be most applicable here. That would be the transferable skill. It's gearboxes and actuators and fuses. But no, Pakistani industry it'll definitely have a place there, because we have a place in frontier technology development. But this is beyond the point. We will reap the benefits of these machines first if we are the first place that they are deployed, right? And this does contradict what I say earlier about it'll probably be the West that sees this first, because they are more expensive, so they are more inclined to automate their industry. But once it comes down to Pakistan, a country that is built on informal physical work, the automation of that informal physical work will literally add an exponential additive to our economical, to our domestic product. One would define an economy as the production of goods and the proliferation of services. Now, if that production is intrinsically unlocked and infinite, let's say, I think it was I think the founder of Midjourney said it would take 5 million humanoids working 24/7, 6 months to reconstruct Manhattan. The capacity for developing this country, it completely blows the lid off what we've seen before when one adds proximity to superintelligence into the mix. And that's what my company is doing for the country, is we're bringing the country closer to the superintelligence chain through data. Now, what comes after that, this is a much bigger prerogative than that of my own. But yes, if you want to reap the benefits of the computer industry, you got to know the computer guys. You got to be sending information to the computer guys, and you got to be buying computers. Yes, Absolutely. Do you assemble computers is irrelevant because you're using them. And that use will be a very real a very real catalyst for change in this country. There's a lot of people that talk a lot of big game, and when networks came about, when gearboxes came about, when telecommunication came about, when fiber came about, when all of these advances came about, you had someone speaking in a similar capacity to the industry about what's going to come. However, I purport that this is what it was all leading to. All of the things all of these technological breakthroughs you and I have seen over our lives, it's all come down to this one industrial revolution, and this will be humanity's greatest achievement. And if Pakistan can take part in it, why should it not?
Why should it not? I am so happy to see your generation being so optimistic. I think my generation and the older generation have the guests that I have, I don't think I've had this optimistic a guest on my show ever. So I'm very happy to hear your thoughts. I'm very happy to see so much potential in Pakistan that perhaps others do not. And I'm happy that the younger generation see potential where the older generation just see destruction and hopelessness. This was a fabulous podcast. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being my guest.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time.